How has it been thus far? When did you get in?
I arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
And I slept.
Yeah. So this is
my first interview.
Oh, great.
I did some press in Cannes.
Yep.
That's a couple of months ago, so I'm a bit rusty, which may be good.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
What is the press like there? Like,
depends.
Because I've only ever, seen the same things that everyone sees, where they get cornered when someone gets cornered and says something untoward, and then.
No, it's been quite civilized, and I mean there's a lot in a very short time. So it's a little bit of a factory. You sit in front of the same camera with the same crew, and you switch journalists, and that seems a bit like counting the cattle, but it's okay. People are prepared, and it depends on what time of the week. By the end of the week in Cannes, you can see that people wept all morning because of too much work and too much drinking, and they're getting rusty and soft and vulnerable, which I like.
Yeah. So you like the interviewers to be vulnerable?
I like them to be run down.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little run down.
Because it becomes sort of more honest.
Yeah. So when you were bringing the hunt out there, you had, I guess, just completed it at that point?
Oh yeah, very much so. We had to hurry a little bit to get it to Cannes, yeah.
So now that the dust has settled, I'm wondering maybe we could talk about what led up to the hunt between Submarino, the process of kind of developing the project.
Well, honestly, the writing of the hunt took some time because I wanted to shoot it up here. I wanted to shoot it as an American-Canadian film. But the topic seemed, already when talking to my agent about it, he was like, it's going to be difficult to finance. You're going to have to use your own financial system for that. Which was great, because I ended up then back in Denmark and with all my friends, and somehow something real came out of it, which I think maybe is very good for the film. So it's interesting to be back here again with it. The film is a little bit, a mirror of something I did before. I did a film about a man, it's called Festen, the celebration. Yeah, and this film was sort of meant to be the antithesis of that film, if you know what I mean. It's the exploration of what happened to the people who did not do anything.
I drew the comparison when I saw it, but I'm wondering, I don't think I saw it as an inversion or an antithesis. I mean, there was one thing I found interesting is that the person who has committed the crime in Festen gets eventually exiled at the end, where there's kind of the reverse, where there's the exile and the bringing back into it at the end, but you get more of a dread that nothing's really going to fully be resolved there, even though it's a more seemingly happy ending than Festen. Some people have called it a happier ending because there is that scene in the what would it be, a lodge? Is that what it would be called?
Yeah.
But then there's the gunshot at the end, which kind of suggests that maybe this isn't going to resolve itself.
Sort of a fringe ending, but I mean, this is where it started. It started with a children's psychiatrist knocking my door, saying, "You made Festen," and I said, "Yeah." Then there's another story that you have to do. I was like, "Fine," and I shelved it and didn't read it. And then, I think 8 years later or something, I needed a psychiatrist, and so I thought, well, I'll call this guy and I better read this first. And it sort of came out as something I really found both very dramatically interesting, but also, I don't like calling it important. I'm not a priest, I'm not a moralist, but I found that this needed to be addressed somehow.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I think by the end of the film, what I found to be the greatest influence of adults on children was not obviously the abuse, because it didn't happen, but the kind of influence that the community had on, I guess, Theo's son, which to me is the real thing that is being passed down through generations, which is this distrust. Like, to me, I immediately assumed that the shooter at the end was his son, and it almost kind of reminded me of Hanneke's Cache, where you can see kind of the resentments of one generation being passed down to the next.
Well, we did shoot actually a lot of scenes with Theo's son, and we also did shoot that ending that you saw. Yeah. But we cut it out to sort of leave it more open, and which I'm happy about, because I like it to be more sort of general. But if you get that feeling, you've just picked up something that was existing in the material.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally. I can give you that ending. I shot it, and edited it. Yeah. And saw it and threw it away.
And the decision was to keep it just more open-ended for what reason?
Well, I liked it to be a question of faith more than a question of a kid. I know that's more sort of self-serious and solemn, but I like that, and I also liked leaving the drama and make a bit of a mindfuck at the end. It's very complicated. Sometimes you just feel what seems right and what seems like something you postulate, you claim. And this felt more right to me.
And you say faith, and you've kind of described Lucas's character almost as like a devoutly religious person, even maybe without the religion, but for his faith and kind of man will eventually realize there'll be a humanity that comes out. And I'm wondering if maybe that theme, we could talk about it in relation to maybe, say, Fanny as the one character, if you can say a character, that is devoutly loyal, like is never going to second guess the relationships.
Are we talking about the religious aspects?
I was thinking religious in the sense of not specific religions, but devoutness to an ideal, maybe. In this sense, that would be humanity.
Yeah. Well, he's a helping character. He's in many ways a good Christian Dane who sort of tries to carry people through their lives and who's very sort of open-hearted and very just, I think, and almost even chaste in the beginning. That changes a little bit, but so there is something godly about him, I guess, in his own sort of very real, humbled kind of way. And you're right, his only sort of real friend is his dog, I guess. I don't see that as very divine, though, but there's his son, there's also his girlfriend, but still they're doubting a little bit.
You can doubt them easily.
Yeah. I guess Fanny may stand for the absolute purity in this film.
Or loyalty, at least.
Yeah, that's right. It's very interesting to have these conversations. I mean, writing a script is very naive, and even it's not full of analysis. It's flesh and blood. It's stupid in a way, and it's supposed to be. If you want to talk about love or revenge in a film, you have to give into it and sink into it in its own banal way. Then after you can be clever. Which is now. I think you know more about my film than I do.